Welcome to Transformers, the podcast about how business people and policymakers are creating a sustainable future. I'm your host, Kai Embren. According to the UN, the global population is projected to reach 9 billion in 2050. Food production is one of the leading causes of climate change and creates between 25 to 30% of global greenhouse gas emissions every year. How can we feed the planet without costing the Earth? In a series of 6 episodes sponsored by Tetra, we will attempting to answer this question. Tetra is a world-leading food processing and packaging solutions company with a mission to accelerate decarbonization and transform the world's food systems. In the 6 programs, we will talk to different stakeholders and explore how they are working to eliminate hunger and reduce the impacts of the food systems on the climate. Our program today is about food waste. Nearly 10% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions are related to food waste. The planet's resources are limited and the number of people to be fed keeps growing. My guests today are working to solve this problem from different perspectives. I would like to welcome Francesco Faella, Vice President Packaging Ambient Solutions at Tetra, Axel Boëthius, a recycling expert at the Swedish consumer Cooperative, and Sylvia, CEO of Clear CO2, a company that reduces the greenhouse gases and converts food waste into money. I'm going to start with Francesco Faella. Francesco leads Packaging Solutions Division at Tetra, a global key company in food processing and packaging. Packaging is at the heart of preserving food and avoiding waste. I know that Tetra has many initiatives to reduce food waste. Can you tell us about some of them?
Absolutely, Kai, and you mentioned already some figures below, and I would like to build on them. And today, if we look at the global food system, we know that that is responsible for 26% of the global greenhouse gas emission. And then, if we consider that on the top of that 26%, we have that 8% of those emissions are associated with food loss, something that it starts from the fields, you can say, but then it is not reaching at the end the consumer. So it is clear that we need to tackle food waste. We can look also in another way. If food waste was a country, it would be the third largest gas emission contribution of CO2. So it is something that absolutely we need to tackle. And now, so we can say that in order to tackle the climate emergency, we need to tackle food waste. Packaging, and now I will tell you in which way then Tetra is contributing, but in general, food packaging is contributing to reduce the food waste. And maybe I can take it from a value chain perspective. If we start from the farmers, one of the typical product category that is packed in our product is milk, dairy product. Well, we have a program which is called Dairy Hub Model, where we contribute with the small farmers in developing countries to help them to provide competence to reduce the food waste and to be able to collect milk and process milk in a very efficient way. This program started back in 2011, and since then we have reached almost 68,000 small farmers. These are very small, and now we have 22 projects ongoing. So this is just an example. Then, if I continue along the value chain, we have the processing part, because typically what is done to product before being packed and put in a package is to thermally treat this product. So we have a very unique processing methodology which is developed. You know, Tetra Pak is processing, it is packaging, and it is also service. So with our processing business unit, we have developed a way to process soy beans and to produce a soy drink. And by our unique technology, we can use the entire bean of the soy, and in this way we can reduce the waste. I mean, typically there is the part, a large part that is not used and it is wasted, and then you get a product with a quite low fiber content. With our technology instead, we can have a product at the end that has 1.2% of fiber content, and there is a reduction also of the soybeans waste.
Francesco, can you talk about the importance of the aseptic process and what it means to food processing?
Aseptic packaging is a technology by which you thermally treat the product with either pasteurization or ultra high temperature process. So for a few seconds, you bring up the product to very high temperature. You kill all the possible pathogens, but you still preserve all the good qualities and nutrients of your product. And then you move this product with an aseptic transfer line into a sterilized, aseptically sterilized filling machines. It is a sterile environment. And then you pack under sterile condition, and you create at the end a product packed in an aseptic package that can distribute at ambient temperature. Again, no refrigeration, no preservatives, and then preserving quality of the product and nutrition for several months, I mean 1 year or even more. Actually, the Institute for Food Technology defined aseptic packaging as the most important innovation in the food sciences of the 20th century. So this is also another element that within Tetra Pak we can say that we are using as a technology to address the food waste.
You mentioned innovation when you're talking. Which role play innovation in the process to reduce the impact on waste?
Yes, let's say that is in Tetra Pak, if we look at I would like to share just some numbers. We're investing, and we've been investing now for some years, and we will continue in the next 5 to 10 years to invest something in the range of 100 million euro per year in innovation connected to sustainability. I mean, our total investment in innovation is even higher, but for sure there is a very large part that goes into sustainability. And we are tackling several areas. One area is, for example, the structure of the packaging material. I was mentioning to you of this sterile environment and aseptic packaging. One element of the aseptic packaging is the structure of the packaging material, where there is a paper board to give mechanical strength to the package, and then typically there is an aluminum layer to offer a barrier to oxygen, to light, because also light and oxygen can impact the product inside. And then there is a very thin layer of plastic that is meant to create, let's say, a waterproof structure. Now, our innovation is going in the direction of increasing the renewability and recyclability of this structure. So what are we doing? We are increasing the content of paper fiber, because in this way we increase the possibility to recycle the packaging. I mean, already today packages are recyclable, are recycled in those countries where there is a good infrastructure of recyclers, and by increasing the amount of paper fiber in the structure, we're reducing the CO2 associated, so the carbon footprint of the package, and we're making the package more attractive for the recyclers. Another important innovation, we're taking away the alufoil, the aluminum barrier, and replacing that with a barrier which is, and this is quite unique in the industry, it's a paper-based barrier. Again, it goes in the direction of increasing the amount of renewable content of the package, improving the recyclability, and reducing the carbon footprint of the packaging. Another area where we are innovating, for example, is in our filling machines. Today, you can imagine, I mean, globally, there is a little bit less than 1% of waste of packages during the filling process. Now, with the new development on the platform, we're going to reduce in the coming years that amount to even a lower level. So these are just some examples of how we are investing in innovation to improve, let's say, the sustainability of the packaging and reducing the food waste.
How do you see the roadmap for these changes to take place? Any time schedule or already existing products?
Well, let's say that is, I see this as a continuous process, and the ambient packaging is something that started now more than 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, and so you can say that the innovation was in Tetra Pak. This innovation mindset was in Tetra Pak since the beginning. What some very recent innovation is, for example, since last year in Europe, we've been using this packaging material without alufoil. We're also replacing the plastic in the material, in the structure of the material, with let's say oil-based plastic with the plant-based plastic, and in this way we are also reducing the carbon footprint. And in the coming year we will make more widely available this new structure of packaging material. On the processing, I mentioned this innovative way to process the soybeans, and there is more to come.
When we talk about innovation and also this type of changes, are you do all this process inside your company, or are you working with entrepreneurs coming from the outside?
Well, this is a very good question. Thank you, Kai, for that. No, I think there are two main element that comes to my mind. First of all is we are part of a very wide network with the universities, and both in Italy, in Sweden, and across the globe. So that is for sure one kind of partnership that we have. But then we are also partnering with some startup. For example, there is a food processing incubator which is called Fresh Start. We are also partnering with some companies that are startups for new food. When I say new food, it means something that is not coming from juice or from a dairy product, but maybe is more associated with the plant-based, or it is even with the insects. I mean, if we will have time, I'll give you some hints about that. So no, definitely we believe that being part of a wide network and collaborating with different players, with producers, which are typically our customers, with retailers, and with other guests of this session, I'm sure that there will be opportunity to highlight that.
You mentioned also the retailer, and also when in this program we're going to have the consumer representative talking about their perspective of waste. And when do the consumers see some changes based on your innovation and your process and the development of the packaging?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that consumers have been starting, I've been seeing innovation coming in the last few years. For example, by introducing, replacing the fossil-based plastic with the plastic coming from plants and from sugar cane. Consumers have seen declared on the package that the amount of renewable content, so coming from plants, in the package has been increasing, as well as the carbon footprint of the package has been reduced. And it is something that in the last few years customers have already seen. In Europe, since a couple of years, consumers have seen on the shelf brands like Lactalis, Emmi, advertising and communicating that in their package the plastic is coming from a certified recycled plastic. So it means that there is upstream, the use of plastic is not completely from a virgin, let's say, oil plastic, but it is coming from, it is sourced from recycled plastic. And these are things that are communicated on the packages, so consumer would see that part. Then, of course, there is, you can argue there is also the let's say, the legislation-driven innovation in Europe with the single-use plastic. Plastic straws have been replaced by paper straws, and now we're having the caps on the packages that have to be tethered, have to be connected to the package. This is something that will become mandatory from July 24. So this is also something that consumer will see on the shelf, and again, which has a better impact on the planet.
Can you summarize Tetra Pak's actions to meet targets?
Look, for sure, if I look at in particular the packaging side, the big priority, I already alluded to it before, is by replacing the structure of the material, taking out the aluminum and replacing the barrier with let's say a paper or paper fiber based barrier. In this way, we increase the content of renewable, we make the package easier to be recyclable, so also for the recycler there is a higher value, and we are reducing the carbon footprint of the package. That is for sure a priority. Then we are investing and collaborating with these startups for what I call the new food. So something that is, I mean, of course, with our customers, there is still a lot of packaging of a dairy or juice product being packed in our packaging, but we also want to make sure to collaborate with those customers that are going to use plant-based product to create, for example, alternative to yogurt. Instead of having a dairy-based yogurt, we'll have a plant-based yogurt. Plant-based beverages are already well established, and it's about improving their taste and improving the fiber content, for example. On the processing side, so on the thermal treatment side of our packaging, there is also on the thermal treatment side, the processing side, there is a clear priority in reducing the amount of energy, the amount of water used for these processes. So these are some of the directions on which we are investing. We believe that packaging is playing a very, very important role, because on one end, we need to tackle food waste, because we need to make food available to more people on the planet. Maybe we can also discuss about the forecast, the increase of the population that we see. We're talking about 9.9 billion people on the planet, probably by 2050. So there will be the need for more food. Packaging has to play a role to reduce the waste and to make available more food. But then packaging cannot be a problem. I mean, packaging has to address and make more food available, but packaging needs to bring the responsibility of not having a negative impact on the planet. So packaging has to play a fundamental role in making the food processing and the food packaging sustainable, meaning having a lower impact on the planet in terms of CO2, in terms of CO2 emission, in terms of water usage, in terms of energy usage in general.
Great, Francesco. It was great to have you here in Transformers, and I think we got an insight of what's going on in Tetra Pak on these particular areas, and to solve the crisis with the waste and find solution on it. So thank you very much, Francesco, for participating in Transformers today.
Kai, thanks a lot. It was a pleasure to talk with you and having the opportunity. This is something that makes us, all of us in Tetra Pak, extremely passionate about. Again, we have a big role to play with packaging, and we want to play it. So,
thank you, Francesco. We now will talk to Axel Boëthius. He heads the recycling initiative for 200 shops of the Stockholm consumer co-ops. There is a total of 800 stores throughout Sweden with over 3.8 million members, of which 1.2 million are in the Stockholm region. Welcome, Axel Boëthius. How do Stockholm Consumer Cooperative Society address the food waste?
So we do a lot of initiatives in regards to the food waste. It's actually our main focus in terms of sustainability initiatives, where we see where we can provide the most value is in food waste prevention. One very important part as a supermarket when it comes to food waste is, of course, being synchronized when it comes to procurement. There are systems now that are used within our stores to be more calculative when it comes to the procurement of the food, so we don't buy too much. But we should also be aware that a lot of food waste is not produced within the stores, but at the homes of our consumers. So a lot of focus is also there in terms of education, trying to sell food that is sustainable in terms of time, to also inform about expiry date, that it's actually possible to eat the food after the expiry dates. It's been something that we've been informing about for many years now.
You mentioned procurement, and that means also a lot of collaboration with in the business to business relationship. Can you give us some example how you work with the
suppliers?
Yeah.
In the past, it's been very much up to one person, the personnel in the stores, for that specific category to order in whatever is needed. But now there are, as I said, systems that can help the personnel to say if you have a discount for product A that might be then competitive with product B. If we make a discount offer for one product and we order in a little bit less of the other, because that won't be sold as much, so we don't have to throw that away. So that's one part. But also using collaborations and systems and strategies to sell the food to a lower price before it has reached its expiry date. So things like that are continuously improved. I think there's still a lot to be done, but we're working a lot on that within the stores.
What waste reduction targets do you have in the Consumer Cooperative Society?
I think we should always strive for zero mentality of having no waste. But lowering it by 10% should be a possibility within a short amount of time, and then working from that.
How do you create a culture of waste reduction that can motivate your members, employees, to work to meet your targets?
I think everyone should be informed and educated in this question. One thing is how we produce our food, to have recipes available on our website, in our membership magazine, and so on, to enable people to make something out of what you have at home. And I think also what we've seen now that we have this unfortunate situation of food prices going up everywhere, that we become more innovative, and we are actually able to make something out of whatever we already have. Since a lot of the food business is volume based, it's an interesting challenge to have a financially working supermarket chain, because if we succeed with the food waste prevention, then obviously the volumes in general throughout the market, if we succeed in food waste prevention, then volume will go down, because we won't have to buy as much food, because we want to be successful long term with supplying the customer or the member with as much value as possible. But we also have to have a working business model. So having those two combined is something that we're looking at very much.
You mentioned also collaboration. Is it any collaboration with your competitors in the market?
So everyone's interested in the same thing. We have to make this work. So we have meetings and forums together where we discuss how to work with packaging, to design the packaging in the best way to minimize the packaging, but also keep the food fresh for as long as possible, what is possible.
What role does the management play in the reducing of food waste?
No, a lot, I would say, especially in the food waste produced within the stores, and making the right kind of purchases for the stores, for the members, knowing consumption patterns, what sells when. A lot of focus on analytics. I think we can all be even more educated, and we're working with having this focus on food waste throughout the whole system.
How do you feel about the sales of ugly products? That has been an issue for
I think it's very positive that it's possible to do so. Also, a question of education. There's of course been when you ask the question, "Are you ready to buy this and that product that looks in a certain way?" Most people say yes. If you're asked in the street, but then standing in the store, it might be a different question. I can just go to myself sometimes when you look and you just take the nicest look at vegetable. There's definitely possibilities to work more with that and with that work throughout the value chain before it comes into the stores.
So when we talk about both your members and consumers, how do you prepare them for this change?
We've had forums and talks on this issue, both online. We have members that are already maybe a little bit more engaged in what we do. They want to buy at the Coop stores because it's green, historical DNA of trying to do the right thing, working with organic in the past. But it's definitely an educational question. And for us, it's very important that we're democratic. So if it's what members want, it's what's going to happen.
Do you think you can do more?
We can always do more. I definitely think so. There is a lot of interest out there. There is a possibility to come out on social media and reach more young people discussing these issues, but there is also a lot of communication out there, and to reach them, we have to know what we're saying, be aligned. It's always we have to take the first step of talking about something while not really being there in the stores, because we have to have products that sell today also.
You are an old organization, has been in the market for many years, and you have a different generation. Do you see any different awareness in how the members acting in different age?
No, it's interesting now that we see the new generations being very aware, having a very strong-minded, new purchasing pattern, a possibility of focusing on something. If you have a lot of time, you might be able to focus on these issues, but then going through my own perspective, even though I've been working with this, if you're a young parent, full-time job, you just have to get food on the table for hungry kids. Maybe it has to go faster. The challenge is to provide possibilities for people to do the right choice, where the right choice is easier than the wrong one. But definitely young generations being more aware of environmental questions, striving for them, working a lot through cancellation culture, that you might not go to a place to shop specifically, but you might not go somewhere because you don't feel that they're aligned with your values or they're doing enough. But we definitely have a lot to do in that field of approaching new interested generations, food consumers.
You mentioned also that you are a democratic organization. How is the members' role to raise their voice in this type of question?
People calling and emailing with ideas on how to do things better. Just before this call, someone called about telling me about their experience in Germany and how they work with packaging in the stores to allow you to carry home your groceries without plastic bags. And there are a lot of people with ideas. So we work with the yearly summit, where you're able to bring in motions for change that you want to see. historically, with the example of organic food in Sweden, that was a motion through a cooperative society in Sweden. We also have the power through our organization to facilitate changes if we come together, and that's what the members want.
So far in our program today, we have learned how Tetra Pak is not only transforming packaging, but also developing new food processes and innovating to reduce waste. We also heard how the Stockholm Consumer Cooperative is tackling ways to educate their 3.8 million members to cut food waste to less than 1% of their turnover by 2025. Our final guest is Sylvia Shin, and she will tell us how one can make money from selling circular carbon credits generated from food waste. There is a chance to avoid food waste and make money at the same time, even for a small to medium-sized company. Let us see what she has to tell us. Sylvia Shin. Can you tell us about Clear CO2? What is it about?
So we're a fintech company, basically. What we do is that we are supporting the organizations which are reducing food waste. For instance, that's where we start. So any reduction in food waste is reducing carbon emissions. So we certify those savings, and these can be traded and sold on the voluntary carbon market at the moment. So all the organizations which are having emissions, and need to compensate these emissions can buy those certificates from other companies who have savings in carbon emissions. So when food goes to landfill and is rotting, basically this creates methane. Yes, so this produces methane, which was a few weeks ago 20 times more, let's say, polluting as CO2 emissions, and now has even a factor of 80. Yeah, so imagine how damaging this is for the environment. Yeah, this is really, methane is one of the greenhouse gases. Yeah.
So what do you offer your clients in the market?
So usually what we found out is that there are solutions for large companies, large projects. So this is taken care of. You have consultants, you have a lot of people supporting this complex calculation. But for small, mid-sized enterprises or organizations, there's nothing. So basically, there's nobody helping them because they have no obligation to reduce their carbon emissions. Yeah, so they have no targets, nothing, and they also don't have help usually, no financial help. So what's the point of making investment in reducing emissions if, let's say, nobody's asking you to do it? What we want to do is to incentivize carbon reductions for all small, mid-sized organizations, which are 90% of all organizations. It's huge, yes. And that's where we want to have a great impact. This is really disruptive, and we are catalyzing decarbonization, and we start in the food system.
And this is on the voluntary market, is that?
Yes, that's where we start. But of course, once we reach the volumes, we can also go on the mandatory market. In our case here, we are avoiding carbon emissions. Yeah? So instead of capturing, we are just making sure that carbon dioxide or methane doesn't go into the atmosphere. So in this sense, it's quite effective. Both work together, right? What we're doing is that we're focusing on local carbon credits. Yes, so you can reduce food waste locally. You don't have to go to the southern hemisphere to countries where you're planting big forests, for instance. Yes, basically you can do that locally. That's the key message.
Can you give some example of a client that you work with?
So, for instance, right now we're working on a pilot with the Viennese Food Bank. And the food banks, of course, avoid food surplus from supermarkets or farmers to go to waste. They pick it up, and they can also deliver it, distribute it to people in need Yeah, of course, they cater for refugees, for for homeless people, for many other populations. We have a crisis right now, so 10 times more people are hungry at the moment, yeah, and going to food banks. So what we offer is that, let's say, collect the information to prove that the food waste saving really happened. Yeah, so we document everything, we document the whole process, we collect the proofs also, and all this information can be collected through our platform. So we have a software platform developed for that. What we're doing then is, once this data is prepared, this can go through an audit process with third-party auditors that we're working with and that any client can choose, on its own. And once this is audited, we can then certify. So we are creating the certificates, but we're already taking our clients by the hand. Yeah. So it's really, we not only certify, help collect the data, certify, but also we trade. Yeah. So we collect the money and then basically we give it back. We just collect our cut out of that. And for instance, for the Viennese Food Bank, we planned that we could generate about 130,000 euro worth of carbon credits per year. That's about 10% of their annual budget. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. And right now it's really needed.
Any other example that you are involved in?
Yes, so we have some other clients in plastic waste reductions, recycling and reductions. That's where we can have also some emission reductions. Anything that's waste, we call those circular credits in this case. We avoid the waste to happen, we avoid then the emissions to happen, or let's say producing more. If we recycle, for instance, we can reuse the material without using natural resources. Then there are also other types of certifications, just like the very standard ones, also with energy reductions. Yeah. But of course, what we do is that we work very differently from the existing certification companies because we tailor our solutions to small, mid-sized organizations which need really different solutions, which are more integrated, more automated and standardized and much easier, and often also with outsourced stuff because they don't have anybody internally to take care of that. So we're kind of one-stop shop.
How is it to work with SMEs and traders and buyers? Are they interested to buy or purchasing carbon credits?
We have different types of buyers. We have, even small, mid-sized organizations are interested in offsetting, in buying, because they want to often reach carbon neutrality. So that's one way. Anybody can do it. Yeah, those interested in offering carbon neutral credits can do that, and we have high quality carbon credits and local. Yeah. The other buyers, as I mentioned at the beginning, these are more corporates. For instance, those who need to offset anyway. And the good thing we offer is that we have full traceability over supply chains. That's what we build. Yes. So it's a kind of insetting also. It means that corporates can decide to invest and buy the credits from their own suppliers. So helping the their own supply chain to decarbonize.
Well, it has been some discussion about criticism of the carbon offset system and companies that are buying them free. And do you have any views of when you do work with the client that they trying to reduce their impact on food waste in normal business activities first before they're buying the credits?
That's a very good question because we get this asked quite often. Yes, a lot of people are just saying, "Oh, carbon offset, so bad." Yeah, and I think it's we need to rectify those views. Basically, everybody is trying to reduce emissions. Yeah, everybody. Those who don't, it's just a short time view, and all those companies are going to go into major troubles. Why? Because the prices of carbon emissions, let's say emitting carbon is going higher and higher. Yeah. So if you don't start today to really make efforts in reducing your carbon emissions, you're going to pay the price very soon. Yes. So that's one thing. So everybody's trying, but it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. It takes time to put all the measures into place, and until you get the results, it's taking a few years. So in this time, having the opportunity to offset, but offset with high quality carbon credits, yes, which really make a difference to avoid or capture carbon emissions. I mean, that's a way in between to go.
Well, you mentioned earlier about the standards and methodologies, and the certification process is sometimes takes times and it's complicated to measure. And can you offer some help?
We give them. I mean, the methodology for us is more cut into quick wins. Yes, so it's not like the very complicated and very complete and exhaustive certification that we do. We cut the different opportunities into smaller chunks. Yes, and we can give a kind of checklist. So the advantage of this type of certification is that it's education in the same time. Many companies just don't know where to start. So we can help them identify what are the savings. We can help identify the return on investment. If you start one of those measures, what are the solutions that can be used? So, for instance, we're working with startups also, which have solutions to reduce carbon emissions. We certify them so we can calculate for companies who want to use these solutions what they could do, and we create those checklists that they can really work in a very concrete and easy way.
Which measurement system are you working on base of the greenhouse gas protocol with the scope 1, 2, and 3?
I mean, right now we're focusing on scope 1 and 2 because we work along supply chains. So we're tracing the credits to avoid double counting and really offer the highest quality and transparency. So by tracing along the supply chain, it means that our scope 1 and 2 is a scope 3 of the client or the supplier, for instance. So through working along a supply chain, we do cover the scope 3, which is actually quite interesting because scope 3 is really hard to measure. Yeah.
It's a growing interest in all part of the business market, that the scope 3 and the supply chain process. But you can offer a solution that help the small businesses to meet the other bigger businesses in this field of the market.
They are usually the suppliers, yes, or could be also the clients of those bigger businesses. So, everything is intertwined. So, I mean, it's really about cooperation, interoperability of data. That's what we offer. And traceability, of course.
It also talks about the certification standard in the market, where you mention Verra. What do you say about the Verra system of methodology and processes?
I think it's very complete. It's been, worked on in a very scientific way also over years. I mean, we are actually including the Verra methodology in our methodology. So we are based on different standards that we combine together to make it suitable for SMEs, for instance. Yeah. So we know it very well. I mean, most of our solution is based on that, but as I said, like we work a bit differently. We adapt it to the use cases that we have. I mean, of course, we do work differently. And it's more on the process side. We do see a couple of gaps that we need to fill. And just like, for instance, certifications of these big bodies is usually after 1 year. You were mentioning before that it takes, a long time to be able to certify. That's what we want to change. Yeah, through the data that we are gathering and through the processes and the automation, we want to be able to certify every month. I mean, ideally. So we could be much faster to go to market because we have smaller chunks, those quick wins. And smaller chunks and quick wins means also that we can adapt more to seasonal food if we focus on food at the beginning. As I said, our certification is going to go into other areas, but really at the beginning is really focusing on food, and seasonality plays a big role.
What are the main challenges in the process?
Okay, the main challenge that we see is to improve the data collection process. Usually it's tedious, people just hate filling forms. So we kind of really need other solutions to be able to capture the data, making it very painless. Yes. There is a carrot, which is money. So we do have an advantage, but still, it's a return on investment calculation. If it takes too long, if you need too many people to be able to do it, it's not going to happen. So that's our job. We're just working on it to hack this problem and make it really easy, one-stop shop, automated, getting even the services to be able to do it for our SMEs, so they don't need to worry too much about it with the data entry, but they do need to do a few things.
When you look at the potential for SMEs, the small business enterprises, to use the food system carbon credits, how big is it?
Well, actually, it's a big market because, simple as that, food is one of the biggest, systems in market. You have agri-forestry and also the whole food industry. As you mentioned before, I think 8% of all global emissions is caused by food waste. So, and 33% approximately of all emissions are caused by the food system, let's say. Yeah, no, it's not even the food system. I mean, we're broader than that, but the food, let's say, the food sectors covering agri and food production. So, it's big.
Yeah, but it seems to be very much of need of collaboration and go out of the box and meet other partners than you maybe normally do. But how can you inspire and collaborate with other stakeholders to be the change maker in this process?
Yes, cooperation is one of our main values. Yeah, we are very open. We are international already as a team. Yes, we are distributed. So we are already open and, by design in this case. We're having stakeholders which are actually, cooperating already, like auditors. I mean, without auditors, we wouldn't be able to offer the whole service. So, I mean, it's wired in our DNA that we want to cooperate with most of the people. And actually, I'm very aware of co-opetition. I mean, in certain cases, yeah, of course, this is still a new market. We don't have that much competition. It's always in some specific areas, yeah. And I mean, the market is so big, as we mentioned before, that there's space for cooperation and there's space for everyone. And when we dig deep down, there's nobody who's doing exactly the same thing. So yeah, at the same time, I can say it openly. We're open for cooperations. We just need to define very clearly who's doing what. And if we work together to make the cake bigger, how do we split it?
What's your vision and mission for the future?
Our mission has been, and my personal mission since over a decade has always to be making trusted food choices for my health, for the society, and for the planet. Yes. And our mission is really to heal the broken food system. That's what we're passionate about, our whole team, everybody who's joining us. Right now we start with decarbonization, but I've always wanted to know what's in my food, where does it come from, and how it's been produced. So that's why we have developed this expertise, and we can do that now with carbon emissions. So yeah, that's our mission.
Great, Sylvia.
Thank you, Francesco, Axel, and Sylvia. It was great to have you in Transformer Studio today and to give the listener a different perspective how to solve the food waste challenge.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
I'm Kai Embren. Follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn, where I will be announcing the future guests to this podcast. And you can expect about 2 programs a month. And each guest has a unique story of making business and society sustainable. So find out more. Visit my homepage, kaiembren.org. Thank you for listening.